Hello, and welcome to the Board of Pensions webcast, Your Church and the 2021 Benefits Plan. My name is Andy Brown. I serve as Vice President of Church Relations for the Board of Pensions. Joining me today to help present this information are my colleagues Pat Haynes, Executive Vice President and Chief Benefits Officer, and Yvette Russell-Minor, Director of Customer Engagement. Together, we'll discuss the 2021 Benefits Plan, provide context for and reasoning behind changes and new offerings, delve deeper into the nitty-gritty details of the benefits plan, and provide guidance on the employer agreement process. There will be a time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. Due to time constraints, we may not get to all of your questions in this format, but every question submitted will be reviewed and answered by someone from the Board of Pensions. Please submit your questions through the question section of the webinar control pane as shown on your screen. As we begin, I'd like to share some brief background context about the work we do together to provide benefits for those who serve the church, and then about the specific context in which the 2021 Benefits Plan works to help you understand the changes we'll discuss ahead. Whatever your role in your congregation, you presumably found your way to this webcast because you have some responsibility for or interest in caring for those who work for the church. Whether you're a pastor with a particular concern for the well-being of those with whom you labor, an office manager or business administrator with an interest in making things understandable for people, or an elected leader of your congregation with some responsibility for those who serve, we're glad you're here. The work that all of us are doing in 2020 looks different than we might have imagined. Everything we do is affected by the context of the coronavirus pandemic. We are meeting today in boxes on a screen rather than in person, just as many of your churches have done and are doing. This pandemic has stretched the church's creativity and frankly revealed its resilience, as work and ministry, worship and mission have had to be rethought and reframed for limitations unimaginable just a few months ago. Thank you for what you have done and are doing to lead through this ongoing crisis. What we do as the church in 2020 is also done through the lens of understanding, in perhaps a new or expanded way, that part of the work of the church that is recognizing and dismantling structural racism. The resources prepared and made available by our colleagues at the Presbyterian Mission Agency as part of the Matthew 25 vision call us to examine with a critical eye all the patterns and programs of our civic and denominational life together, to see where we have work to do in the promotion of social righteousness. Those PMA resources for congregational engagement are excellent, and I commend them to you. Of course, the Board of Pensions has work to do in this arena as well. A group of 15 of our Black staff colleagues at the board drafted a statement on racial justice that recognizes the watershed moment represented by the tragic killing of George Floyd. This statement, which was subsequently adopted by executive management and our board of directors, is available on our website. It speaks to the need for all of us to stand in support of racial equality and against deeply ingrained prejudices against Black Americans and other people of color, simply because of the color of their skin. Part of this work that is the board's to do is to note disparities in salary and benefits, disparities which create groups of haves and have-nots, all of which is described in a document called Living by the Gospel. At the board, we are committed to providing the resources you need as you engage with benefit issues. Following the conclusion of this webcast, you'll receive an email that contains two types of things. The first is a survey about this event, where we solicit your feedback in helping us serve you and the whole church. Second, that email will contain resources. They are links to the board's statement on racial justice, to racial justice materials from our sibling agencies, to a copy of Living by the Gospel that I mentioned a moment ago, that guide to structuring ministers' terms of call, and finally to sections of our website that contain decision-making aids to assist your work in benefits design and implementation. We hope you will spend some time taking advantage of these resources. From the decades of experience that the three of us have working in the church, we know that the desire to be the best employer you can be drives our churches. We all want to do well by those who serve and provide them with what they need for the abundant life Jesus promised. We also know that financial constraints are real and that compensation and benefits decisions are often driven by what a church can afford. Our reformed understanding of vocation affirms that all who serve the church are called by the Holy Spirit. How we treat those who respond to this call from God is a witness to the lordship of Jesus Christ and often stands in contrast to the norms of the marketplace. For that reason, the Board of Pensions, as an agency of the Presbyterian Church USA, offers programs designed to promote well-being in health, spiritual, financial, and vocational realms. Throughout these programs, the values of care, connection, and community nature are upheld. Benefits are not elective. They are an essential component of just compensation. When the church provides just compensation to its workers, it lives out its identities as a just and caring community. It stands as a witness to the world. Thus, with the entire church, the Board of Pensions serves the God who created us and calls us in Christ to this holy work by which we exhibit the kingdom of heaven to the world. The expansion of the benefits plan in 2021 is meant to further broaden the choices available to employers and employees who are served by the Board of Pensions, expanding the solution set and making more possible for more people. Over the past 5 years, we've moved from a one-size-fits-all approach of the traditional benefits plan, an offering that worked in some settings, but that many church employers had rejected for the vast majority of their employees, to the availability of a wide range of options so that employing organizations may tailor-make a benefits package appropriate to their context and that will serve their employees. Many employers throughout the PCUSA family have responded positively, and at the start of this year, enrollment had grown by 25%. While this is good news, there remain a significant number of ministers who do not have access to benefits through the board, and one of this year's new bundles speaks directly to that concern. Every minister and every employee of the PCUSA and its affiliated organizations should have access to quality benefits. I'll say more about that in just a moment. With that as our context and introduction, let's get a guided tour of the details of the new benefits available in the 2021 benefits plan from the board's Executive Vice President and Chief Benefits Officer, Pat Haynes. Hi, Pat.
Hello to all our attendees. I am so delighted to be actually live in Philadelphia today, one of the 3 times I have made it to the office since we closed in March. So to Andy's point, life is very different for us as well. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to provide all of you with the highlights of the new plans available to our members in the upcoming year. If you think of our plans under 3 principal program headings, the complete inventory at the highest level looks something like this. Plans that fall under the heading of retirement programs, those characterized as financial protection programs, and those that are characterized as health programs. If you look at the individual plan names under each of these headings, this should all be familiar content, but you'll probably notice that the wrapping is just a little new. For example, the defined benefit pension plan that many of you know and love, and perhaps just refer to as the pension plan, is listed under the broader heading of retirement programs, a program category that also includes the retirement savings plan, or RSP, managed by Fidelity. Likewise, all things health-related appear under the heading of health programs. As we have expanded our offerings, we've come to understand the importance of organizing them in some kind of logical, programmatic way. For 2021, the 2 brand new plans that I want to address today with you happen to fall under the heading of financial protection programs, a temporary disability plan and a long-term disability plan. both designed to replace a member's lost income during a period of disability caused either by illness or injury. And I'll briefly talk about an expanded term life plan offering, another one of the board's financial protection programs. Let's start with the temporary disability plan. And this was specifically designed to provide some amount of financial protection during a period of disability that would be described as temporary or short-term. It is completely separate, and this is important, from the death and disability plan. As you probably know, the current death and disability plan begins to provide benefits after 90 days of a disability. For many churches and other employers, providing compensation during this short-term period while also paying for alternative and necessary staff support is not always feasible. And we have long understood that for many ministers and other church workers, the potential of having no income during any part of that 3-month period leaves them feeling financially unprotected and vulnerable. So this temporary disability plan will hopefully address that issue. For ministers enrolled in pastor's participation and minister's choice, which is the new benefit package that Andy will describe in greater detail in a minute, temporary disability will be an automatic part of their benefits as of 1/1/21. So let me say that again. Temporary disability will be an automatic part of benefits provided to ministers enrolled in either pastor's participation or minister's choice. Temporary disability benefits begin on the 15th consecutive day of disability caused again by an illness or an injury. The weekly benefit amount payable is equal to 60% of effective salary. The payment, which would be made weekly, will actually be processed by Lincoln Financial Group. They are our current disability plan administrator. Benefits are payable for up to 90 days. Statistically, most periods of short-term disability, which might be the result of a scheduled surgery or childbirth, are more typically between 4 and 8 weeks, but of course can go as long as the 90 days. An individual receiving temporary disability benefits will be considered an active employee for the purposes of receiving other benefits, which simply means that any in-force benefits like medical and/or dental coverage will be continued during that period of disability. Now, we know that there are some states that have mandated disability plans and that there might be some situations where workers' compensation is involved. In those cases, the benefit the temporary disability plan pays will be offset by those benefits. And offset just means that the other benefits will be taken into consideration so that the total benefits received by the member will not exceed that 60% level. I should note that there's no pre-existing condition provision and no health statement or evidence of insurability required for this coverage. So let me just drill down for a minute on the eligibility provisions for this new benefit. Again, for any minister enrolled in pastor's participation or minister's choice, our new bundle, it is an automatic part of their benefits, excuse me, paid entirely by their church or other employer at a cost already reflected in the total percent of salary dues amount. For other employees who work 20 or more hours per week, employers may elect to offer the temporary disability plan, and they can do that on a classification-specific basis. So employers can choose to pay the entire cost of coverage, or they can simply offer the coverage to employees who agree to cover the cost through payroll deductions. If the employer is fully paying the cost of the coverage, any benefit amount received under the plan would be taxable. Conversely, if the employee is paying the cost, any benefit amount received would be non-taxable. Remember again, no pre-existing condition provision and no health statement required for this coverage, regardless of whether or not the employer or the employee is paying the cost. The cost of coverage for those covered employees who are not enrolled in pastor's participation or minister's choice is calculated at a rate of 45 cents per $10 of weekly pay. And Yvette will go over a little bit about how this will appear through the employer decision support tool. For example, the cost of temporary disability coverage for an employee earning an annual salary of $40,000 would be about $415 per year, or just under $35 per month. Because the inability to work as a result of a disabling illness or injury may extend beyond 90 days, we are also providing employers with the opportunity to provide long-term disability benefits. Now, this new plan has been designed for individuals who are not covered by the board's death and disability plan. That means it would not be available to ministers enrolled in pastor's participation or minister's choice, or to any non-minister employee who remains enrolled in the death and disability plan. Its basic provisions actually mirror, for the most part, the provisions of our current disability plan, beginning with the 90-day waiting period. Whether or not an individual was receiving temporary disability benefits, coverage under this plan would begin on the 91st consecutive day of disability. Like our current disability plan, this plan offers income protection equal to 60% of effective salary, payable in monthly increments. And as long as an individual remains disabled, benefits are payable up to an individual's normal Social Security retirement age, which, depending on year of birth, could be up to age 67. Active status in other board plans ends when these long-term disability benefits commence. While there is a pre-existing condition provision for this coverage, there is no evidence of insurability requirement. And again, Lincoln Financial Group will be our payment partner for this plan as well, which for those individuals covered by temporary disability should result in seamless transition from a period of short-term or temporary disability to long-term disability. As for eligibility, again, because this is effectively the same coverage provided by the current death and disability plan, this new plan is intended as an offering by those employers who do not currently provide our death and disability plan to non-installed pastors and/or to their other employees. In order for an employer to provide this benefit, they must agree to absorb 100% of the cost and may only include for coverage on a classification-specific basis those employees who work 20 or more hours per week. Now, the cost for this plan is calculated at a rate of 35 cents per $100 of monthly salary for each individual covered. So let's look at that same employee from our temporary disability example who's earning $40,000 a year. For this coverage, the cost would be about $140 per year, or to be very precise, $11.67 per month. The final income protection program that I'd like to address with you today is the Term Life Plan, which has actually been expanded for 2021. In addition to the current option for employers to provide a fixed dollar amount of coverage, and those amounts, if you remember, were $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, and $50,000 in fixed increments. That's the plan as it exists today. In January, you can choose as an employer to provide coverage on an income-based basis. So specifically, an employer may elect coverage equal to 1 times a member's salary up to $50,000. And in accordance with the current provisions of this plan, this benefit must be fully paid by the employer. Any member enrolled in the death and disability plan is not eligible for coverage. but the 20-hour per week work requirement does remain in place for this as well. Since this 20-hour work week requirement has been kind of a recurring theme, I do want to pause for a minute and offer a reminder about what employers at no cost to them, meaning no cost to the employer, might consider offering to those employees who do work less than 20 hours per week. First, under the heading of retirement programs, an employer may offer any employee to whom they issue a W-2 participation in the retirement savings plan. And they may also offer on a 100% contributory basis, meaning that 100% of the cost is paid for by the employee through payroll deduction. They may offer participation in one and or both the dental plan and the vision eyewear plan. They would only need, meaning the employees would only need to be earning enough wages to cover the cost of these coverages. These are coverages that might not be available to them in any other way. It's one of the ways that we hope to be able to support each and every one of our churches and other employers in your effort to be the best that you can be. As Andy mentioned at the outset, we're happy to receive your questions about these or any other benefits. Please feel free to use the question function and get your questions to us. If we don't get to them today, as Andy suggested, we will get to them eventually in a very short period of time. So now I'm going to turn it back to Andy.
Thanks, Pat. Now that we've seen the new benefits in the 2021 benefits plan, let's review how these benefits and others come together to form benefits packages available for ordained ministers serving the denomination. As I mentioned at the top, one concern for us and for the church is that there are a significant number of PCUSA ministers working in church and parachurch settings who have not had access to the denomination's benefits through the Board of Pensions. For 2021, a new benefits package, as Pat mentioned, called Minister's Choice, will be available for employers to select. The Minister's Choice package will offer at 10% of effective salary the defined benefit pension plan, death and disability, temporary disability, and the employee assistance plan. Additionally, enrollment in Minister's Choice will provide access to Credo, Sabbath sabbatical support, Healthy Pastors, Healthy Congregations, and Minister Education Debt Assistance. Each of these programs, of course, have their own eligibility requirements. This new bundle of benefits does not replace pastors' participation, which remains the benefits bundle for all ministers installed in pastoral positions in congregations. Pastors' participation includes all the benefits of Minister's Choice, plus family medical coverage provided by the employer. I'll say more about changes to pastors' participation in just a moment. While the Minister's Choice bundle does not include medical benefits, it may be combined with any medical option through the Board of Pensions or from another source to offer comprehensive medical coverage and income protection. While medical plan coverage may be secured in a number of ways, such as through a spouse or partner or on the open market, there is no commercially available benefit that can reproduce the protection offered through Minister's Choice and at such an affordable cost. Our board of directors and executive leadership believe this is a significant generational move and is intended as a step toward ensuring all ministers throughout the church receive benefits from the church, reducing the gaps between haves and have-nots within the PCUSA community. Let's look at an example of how the new Minister's Choice benefits package could work in practice. For this example, let's say a minister of Word and Sacrament is serving in a position at a church employer. They're serving 20 hours a week and earning an effective salary of $25,000. The minister has access to medical coverage from another source, but could greatly benefit from the financial security that the board's retirement and financial protection programs provide. Trying to be the best employer it can be, the employer enrolls this minister in the new Minister's Choice benefits package. Dues of 10% would be $2,500 for the year, a little over $200 per month. For that contribution, the minister will be enrolled in all of the listed benefits. What's more, due to the community nature of the benefits plan and the pastor's median salary calculation, the pension and death and disability benefits would be calculated as if the minister were earning a far higher salary. Additionally, the minister would have access to the support of those select assistance and education programs I mentioned a moment ago. Every minister ordained in the PCUSA deserves the financial protection that's included with minister's choice. As I said, many ministers already get these benefits through pastor's participation. The Book of Order, part of the Presbyterian Church Constitution, requires that all those installed into pastoral ministry in a congregation as a pastor, co-pastor, or associate pastor be enrolled in the benefits plan. Pastor's participation is the package of benefits designed specifically for those working in those roles. It may also be offered by employer decision to any other minister working at least 20 hours per week. For 2021, pastor's participation will include all the familiar benefits, along with the new temporary disability plan Pat described. The total dues for pastor's participation will remain at 37% of effective salary for the fourth year in a row. The dues calculations for each benefit will be adjusted as follows. Dues for the defined benefit pension plan will decrease from 11% to 8.5% with no change in benefits. Medical dues will increase from 25% to 27% after being flat for 3 years. Death and disability dues will remain at 1%, and the temporary disability dues will be 0.5%. It's important to note that the reduction in pension dues was based on exhaustive analysis done by board staff and our actuarial advisors, which was then reviewed and approved by our board of directors. Even with the recent uncertainty in financial markets, the defined benefit pension plan remains fully funded with liquidity to meet all of its current and future obligations. With some of the why questions and most of the what questions out of the way, we'll next hear from Yvette Russell Minor about what you as a church employer can expect as you complete your 2021 employer agreement. Yvette brings the all-important how part of the equation. Welcome, Yvette.
Thank you, Andy. I'm excited to share information that will bring the plans and programs together by completing the 2021 employer agreement. The employer agreement is your annual opportunity to review, select, and change the benefits that you offer ministers and employees. We are here to serve you as you move forward with selecting benefits to offer in 2021. The Board of Pensions requires that every employer who offers benefits through the benefits plan of the Presbyterian Church USA submit an employer agreement. This agreement documents the benefits an employer offers its employees each year, including who will be eligible for benefits and how much employees will contribute toward the cost of coverage. Employer agreements are updated and submitted online through Benefits Connect, the Board of Pensions benefits portal. As you move forward with the employer agreement on Benefits Connect, you can review existing benefit groups for refinement, select new benefits to offer in 2021, and model various cost and contribution scenarios. You can also save and print your selections to support planning and decision-making in advance of submitting your final employer agreement. You can even resubmit your employer agreement if you need to adjust any information after the initial submission. Please submit your employer agreement soon after you decide the benefits that you are offering in 2021. The last agreement submitted by October 9th will determine the benefits you will offer to ministers and employees during annual enrollment this fall. Please note, October 9th is the last day to submit your employer agreement. Now, I will share features of the 2021 employer agreement. The goal is to submit your finalized employer agreement soon after you know the packages and benefits that you are offering in 2021. One quick reminder about selecting benefits. Although the Board of Pensions does not advise on human resources best practices or employment policy, some general guidelines in developing and applying sound policy related to benefits eligibility include policies that are transparent, consistently applied, and fair. For more information, please visit our website, pensions.org, and search Creating Benefit Groups. New this year, to help you manage benefit groups and select packages, you can add a description to each group. For example, If you create a benefit group for part-time employees, you can describe this group within the employer agreement as part-time employees. This description will carry throughout the employer agreement experience to make it easier to remember the features and benefits of each benefit group. The new plans and packages that Pat and Andy discussed, including Minister's Choice, temporary and long-term disability, and the Term Life Plan, are all included as options in the 2021 employer agreement for churches. The employer agreement features a step-by-step navigation bar at the top and is organized by the programs in the benefits plan: retirement, financial protection, and health. Within each of those program steps, you will find the individual plans. Step 1, when you start the employer agreement, the employees, benefit groups, benefit selections, and employer contributions from the 2021 agreement will be shown with 2021 cost. Step 2, managing groups and selecting packages on the employer agreement allows you, for each benefit group, choose a package that is available for that group or choose select benefits to begin selecting from all the benefit plan options. For example, for installed pastors, you will see the pastor's participation package already selected, since that is the only option available to installed pastors. For ministers working 20 hours or more, you will see 3 options: pastor's participation, minister's choice, and select benefits, since you can offer benefits to ministers working 20 hours or more in one of these 3 different ways. If you select the minister's choice package, the temporary disability plan, the death and disability plan, and supplemental death and disability benefits will be pre-selected. You will not be able to change those selections because the minister's choice package automatically includes those financial protection benefits. Step 3, retirement programs, includes the defined benefit pension plan and the retirement savings plan. You will find all the plans that provide financial protection in Step 4, financial protection programs. As you click through each benefit group, you will see the benefits provided or available to each group. The annual and monthly medical plan costs are included in Step 5, health programs. For planning and sharing with decision makers at the church, you can print the annual and monthly costs for various scenarios that you might model, giving you the opportunity to compare scenarios. The dental plan and vision eyewear plan are also included in the health program step. Step 6 includes tax-advantaged accounts. These accounts enables employees to set aside pre-tax dollars through payroll deductions to pay for eligible expenses. Once you complete each step, please review to ensure that all costs and benefits for each group are accurate, and then submit your final agreement by the submission deadline, October 9th, to ensure that employees see the benefits available to them and the cost during annual enrollment. Remember, you may revise the agreement as needed until the submission deadline, October 9th. Your selections are saved automatically as you work through the process. We hope the employer agreement, once you log on to Benefits Connect, is a smooth process. However, if you have questions, we are here to serve you. Please visit pensions.org for resources, including a question and answer resource, for more information on the new benefits for 2021. The Board of Pensions is here to answer any questions about selecting benefits and to help you make the best choices for you and your employees. If you have questions or need assistance, please call us Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. When you contact the board, dedicated staff is ready to assist you. Message us. You can contact the board through the Message Center on Benefits Connect or email memberservices@pensions.org. We welcome and appreciate your feedback and would like to hear from you. The employer agreement includes a new survey. After you submit your employer agreement, you will be able to complete a brief survey to share your experience. Your answers will help us enhance Benefits Connect to make completing the employer agreement easier, and your feedback will assist us in improving our resources, service, and communications. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvette. During our time today, we've shared with you the 2021 benefits plan, detailing new benefits and a new benefits package. We've reviewed the minister's choice and pastor's participation benefit bundles and discussed next steps for completing your 2021 employer agreement. I want to assure you that this webcast is being recorded and will be posted on our website. We'll send a link to each of you who registered so that you can watch this again. You can perhaps watch it with your personnel committee or with other groups of people, or send it on to other folks you think might benefit from understanding more about the 2021 benefits plan. We have a couple of questions that have come in already, and I want to direct them to some of my colleagues. So first, Pat, you talked about classifications of employees, about offering some benefits on a classification-specific basis. Can you give us some general examples of different classifications a church might consider?
Absolutely. I would say that most typically classifications get built around either things like length of service and or hours worked. So that if you were wanting to create a classification for employees who work 30 or more hours, that's a uniform class of individuals and it avoids any pitfall of discrimination based on age or gender or ethnicity. If you wanted to create a classification for those employees hired before a certain date, that's one of those universal classifications that could work. I've certainly seen classifications built around administrative staff versus at a church versus all teachers. So the best counsel around classification is to avoid anything that might get you in an area of discrimination around, again, age, gender, ethnicity, and try and stick to kind of benign things like hours worked, dates of hire, and broad classifications of employment. Hope that's helpful.
Thanks, Pat. The second question is probably a question for Yvette. So what are the steps a church needs to take if they want to enroll a minister in minister's choice, but they haven't had an employee in the plan in a number of years and don't have an employer representative established?
Great question. Contact the Board of Pensions at 800 Pres Plan. We will walk you through establishing the new enrollment, establishing the benefit group, and ensuring the minister can enroll in the minister's package this fall during annual enrollment.
Thanks, Yvette. What information will somebody need to have when they make that call?
Andy, it's best, and team, it's best to have the individual's identifying information, the name, of course, the role within the church. That will help us with our conversation as you're thinking through benefit groups. We can offer service in that area to ensure that you are arriving at your intentions and that we're helping you be the best for your employees.
Thanks, Yvette. Pat, can you talk some about how the board sees the new temporary disability plan as part of the solution for situations of family leave?
I think that's a great question. And just as a little bit of background, I had the privilege of participating with a committee that was charged with dealing with the broader category of paid leave. Because when you talk about family leave, that's a very specific kind of leave, but paid leave can be much broader. And so what I would say about temporary disability, it can help with a leave that is created by a medical condition. And as it connects back to family leave, this is helpful for mom, not necessarily for dad, but biological mom will have some period, whether she believes it or not, of disability as a result of that pregnancy. If it's a complicated pregnancy, it could be a while. If it's an uncomplicated pregnancy, it's likely to be anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, and that's generally defined by the physician. So as it relates to your specific question, Andy, around family leave, this is that portion that could help mom with the period during which she is actually unable to work because of a pregnancy condition.
So it sounds like this is one part of a solution for one case of leave, but that certainly doesn't relieve a session of their obligation to engage with the challenging issue of how to navigate needs for all the staff at their church.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And that's really, I suspect it'll circle back to the next General Assembly as a larger church issue. But seems to me that there's a pretty strong commitment to at least having the conversation around all kinds of paid leaves, with a particular emphasis, frankly, on family that would include dad as well as mom.
Sure. And I see that too, Pat, not just in church conversations, but in secular political conversations. Different states have taken different approaches, different municipalities have taken different approaches. It seems to be very much the topic of the day, and I appreciate the work that you helped that GA committee work through, and look forward to that being reported in 2022. Yvette, we have a question about the open enrollment dates. We've talked about the close of employer agreement season, of course, being October 9th. You gave us that date a couple of times. Do you have a sense of when the open enrollment dates for annual enrollment dates for employees will be?
Yes, I do. October 26th begins the annual enrollment season through November 13th.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question I see here is about some of the distinctions between the standalone long-term disability program and the traditional, the classic death and disability plan. So, Pat, I wonder if you can reflect for just a minute on sort of some of the distinctions between those two. Folks who may be familiar with our death and disability plan, and what's different with the long-term disability?
Well, let's first start with eligibility, because as I emphasized a couple times, the death and disability plan, which is really a package that includes disability protection beginning with the 90th day of disability or 91st day of disability, and death benefits. And that is a bundle. We've always called it the death and disability plan, and it does apply automatically again to pastors and pastors participation and other ministers in either pastors participation or minister's choice. It also may apply to non-ministers at an employer's discretion. It has to be fully paid by the employer, as does the new long-term disability plan. I would say one of the primary differences is that under our current death and disability plan, an individual who goes on disability maintains their active status. Yeah. And that means they continue to earn pension credits if they're in our defined benefit pension plan. And it also means that they continue their medical benefits to the extent they had them for the entire duration of their disability. And that's a pretty significant distinction. But in terms of the percentage of salary that's covered, the duration of benefit that's covered, we pretty much took our disability plan, about which we're very proud. We think it affords really solid protection, and we used it to basically design the new long-term disability benefit. But the biggest distinction is probably the maintenance of that active plan status, where pension credits continue to accrue and medical benefits continue for the member for the entire duration of their disability, and for their family if they've covered them previously for a period of up to 3 years.
That's great, Pat. Very helpful. Thank you. Yvette, we have a question about where folks can find the costs for vision eyewear and for dental benefits.
Yes, the employer agreement will display the cost for vision eyewear by coverage level and the monthly cost per employee. And the dental plan, those are 4-tier coverage option rates, and they're individually determined for each employer. And the Benefits Connect employer agreement experience will also include those costs.
So
Andy, if I could also just add, for the first time in 2021, dental rates will vary by region of the country. What we have found by having, goes back to Andy's theme of the one size fits all that ends up fitting maybe no one. So we have worked very hard to design 5 different geographical regions across the country, and hopefully the dental rates that you'll see reflect more market-based pricing in your specific region for the same dental plan.
That's great. Yvette, can a church enroll ministers on their staff in member-only medical and then enroll them in minister's choice? And if they want to do that, how do they go about doing that during this employer agreement season?
Yes, adding the medical plan to the minister's choice package is a very straightforward process. You would make that selection on the employer agreement, and that would inform during the fall annual enrollment season an opportunity for the minister to select a coverage level that protects the minister and eligible family.
Thanks, Yvette. I want to remind folks that if we didn't get to your specific question that you typed in, we will respond in the coming days. You've been kind enough to provide us with an email address. In order to register for this webinar, we will use it for that purpose. We promise not to abuse it. If you have additional questions, you'll see Katie Pierce's email there. Katie works on our church relations team as our church relations administrator. She's happy to be a conduit for your further questions. As Yvette said earlier, you can certainly send email always through the Benefits Connect portal or to memberservices@pensions.org. We're happy to receive questions that way, but please also feel free to use Katie's email there as a conduit for information, and we'll find good answers and send them back to you. We also will take the questions most frequently asked and add to our Q&A documents that are posted on pensions.org. If you have questions for the board, I'd encourage you to start there. There's a wealth of great materials on pensions.org. This concludes the Your Church and the 2021 Benefits Plan webcast. It was recorded. We'll have it up on the website within a couple of weeks. If you wrote questions that you didn't get, know that we will respond to you directly. If you have additional questions, avail yourself of the contact information provided, and please do use our website. Thank you to my presenting partners, Pat Haynes and Yvette Russell-Minor, for your time and for your presentations, and for all those behind the scenes who make something like this possible. Thank you for all those of you who attended this webcast. Thank you for your service to the church. Have a great day.